Welcome back to Paranormal Now. I'm your host, Alan B. Smith, and this is the Star Wars Roundtable we've been putting off for months and we're finally getting to. But the fortunate side effect of that is we got author Ellie Maloney, author of 329 Years Awake, to join us for this roundtable discussion. We will post a little bit of this video online to share with you, and you will see only Ellie and Mac. Mac Barnes is the Star Wars Encyclopedia, according to me. And my good friend Andrew Powell, he is also a geeked out fan of Star Wars. He knows a whole lot and beyond Star Wars as well. And unfortunately, we can't see Andrew, but he's here in spirit. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, guys.
He's a force ghost.
So anyway, let's get started with the broad scope here. We'll go one at a time. I'll start with you, Ellie. Without getting into too much detail, what was your overall take of the movie as a film?
I loved it. Sorry, guys. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. That's the gist of it.
You did? Okay. Yep. So that's your broad take right there. What about yourself, Mac?
I think my issue was I went in with too many expectations. I wanted certain things to happen, and when you want certain things to happen in Star Wars, they never happen. So I think I kind of screwed myself by going in with too many expectations. But
well said.
Going to see it second and the third time, since I've seen it 3 times now, is just I have every time that I watched it, I felt like I was watching a different movie, in the sense that I was watching things that I didn't otherwise see the previous time or the previous 2 times. I felt like I was paying attention to different details. So I feel like I've seen a very broad spectrum and different aspects of the movie.
Okay, and what about you, Andrew?
So I saw it again recently. Today, actually, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I liked it more than I liked it the first time, but still, I'm not a fan. It's very preachy, man, and it's very Disney-fied. Watching it again, there's the biggest problems I had with it. I don't understand why they put pop culture references in it. For example, the "Can you hear me now" bit at the beginning, and Luke dusting off his shoulder. It's very unnecessary. This happened in a galaxy a lot, far, far away. They don't know anything about Earth pop culture, and there's a lot of the Disney issues with the creatures. There's a lot of creatures in this that we didn't have to deal with. I actually like the porgs, by the way. I'm pro porg, but those people, those nun type creatures that are on that planet. Why are they there? And then
the caretakers? You didn't like the caretakers?
Horrible idea. And then the entire Canto Bight planet. That entire sequence had no business being in the movie. It could be taken
that
out.
place was killer. What do you mean?
Okay, so we're already splitting up. Let me just lay in my overall take. I'm with you, Ellie, that it's a great film. As a film, if you separate it from anything else, it is a great film, with the exception of the Canto Bight sequence, which could have been edited down. But besides that, I thought it was a great film. As a Star Wars film, I think a lot of people, besides the storylines that people had issues with, I think it was jarring because Rian Johnson's a really great director and he's an intelligent person. But he took what Lucas introduced to us, and he introduced a mythology story. And mythology stories, they have only so many characters. They go on a hero's journey, and then they complete this journey. And they go through the dark and they come out into the light. And he tapped into these archetypical, psychological depths that are within all human beings. So Rian Johnson comes along and he adds so many more elements to these already numerous characters that in that sense it didn't feel like a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
I feel that.
It's definitely a different, every director has their own vision. And I don't think it fit with what JJ did, with 7. And I'm really glad that he's coming back to close out 9. Hopefully he can fix a lot of the problems I had with 8.
Yeah, and I'll say this right now. Spoiler alert. So anybody who's listening, spoiler alerts. We're going to get into details here soon. Ellie, what was your favorite part of the film?
I think I lived under the rock and I didn't see all the interviews that were happening prior and all the trailers. So, like, I happened to go. It's like my husband came over and it's like, we got tickets, we got invited, we're going. I'm like, oh, okay. And it was like the second day when I was in the theater. I kind of, I was in my own space, didn't expect that to happen. And I expected Finn to be fully dead. And like when I don't know, that was just like such a, like, I lost my shit. I was so happy he was alive. I don't know how did that happen, but okay, that happened. So because I was like really ranting, like, yeah, you killed the good guy and all of that. Okay, so let me just kind of expand because you guys kind of went into the details a little bit on your stance here. Okay, here's my broad stance on this. I liked the film overall. There were certain things that I didn't like, but I happened to disagree with you guys, I suppose, on the casino sequence, on that whole thing, like a little bit, because maybe I was so attached to the Finn character, and I did happen to like Rose a lot as a character and as an actress. I thought she was interesting, and I just kind of enjoyed their dynamic. So, and I kind of was happy to see them doing something, although I thought the writing was like, yeah, it kind of was written in a way that it didn't amount to anything, but I cannot say that it didn't amount to anything because to me it kind of like introduced the characters in a more active way, I suppose. So, so from that point of view, I thought that sequence, and it introduced a little bit of that whole economy of like gray economy where like who's trading guns to everybody, and the economy of the universe. I feel like that stuff is going to be coming forward, and I do like that element because I do like sagas or epics that have social overtones. So I'm expecting for that to be happening.
But, I mean, as a like from a novelist's point of view, do you see a good storyline here?
I see multiple storylines, and I feel like it can go in so many ways. And I feel like a lot of people commented that, well, maybe just Finn and Rose should have gotten like their own like thing, or like a
separate spin-off movie, or
yeah, they're like it's like we were just talking about the X-Files just a little bit while ago, and like I feel like when you introduce new characters and like people go in with the expectation to see their old beloved characters to shine and to grow, and there's such a romantic attachment because it was after a while that Carrie Fisher came in and like then she died, so we kind of wanted to see more of that, I suppose. And people got really upset about how Luke's character was written. We happen to disagree with that too a little bit, but I don't want to go into super deep details. I feel like we're going to get there.
Well, yeah, well, Mac, what did you think about Luke Skywalker's storyline? Do you think that his end, his death? All right, come on, man, lay it. Just say it.
God, I don't know what to think, honestly. Like, yeah. I didn't want to see him go out like that. Like, honestly, I'll let you in on like one of my expectations. I expected, because all my friends always give me hell because I love Kylo Ren, and they're all like, "Oh, Kylo Ren's like so lame. Like he's such a baby. Like all he does is whine and like throw tantrums and everything." I'm like, "Nah, dude." I was like, remember, Anakin was like that in episode 1 and in episode 2, and then he's like basically the most powerful Jedi by the time 3 comes around.
Wait, if I may interject there, so was Luke Skywalker in A New Hope. He was a whiny guy in the beginning. Yeah.
I was going to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
But I was like, that's just their thing. But Kylo's my man, and Kylo has to destroy his master by the end of the movie, or his ex-master. But that didn't end up happening, and they teased me. They got me so upset because, like, I saw him step out. Like I saw him walk out of like that bunker on Crate, and then whenever they came out, and he walked out, and then Kylo like had him blast him, and yeah, the little shoulder flick and everything. That was a little too much. But then whenever he was like, lower me down, and he lowers him all the way down, and then he walks out and meets him halfway, and then like they were about to like go into it, I was hoping so much that there was going to be a lightsaber duel there, because I had a feeling if there was a lightsaber duel happening there, then that was going to be Luke's fate. And I was hoping that was going to happen. Even though Luke Skywalker's my guy, he's my favorite character, sometimes, you know, you have to just kill the old things.
Okay, but do you guys accept the argument that what Luke did is actually even more powerful and more grand and more elevated, metaphysically speaking, than just fighting with a laser sword? Excuse me.
I definitely I liked it more the second time around, buddy. I'll give you that. Like watching it today, there's two things that I liked in the movie that I didn't really like the first time, and that being Laura Dern, and I was okay with Luke's thing at the end. Those are the two things I made peace with. And like Luke has a line in the very beginning where he says something to the effect of, "Oh, you think I'm going to just stand up against the whole First Order?" And that's kind of what, and then he kind of does that at the end. He kind of shows up and stands up against the whole First Order. He uses like what juice he had left to project himself. And I guess he's on like this higher plane of existence. You know, when Yoda shows up and he's like as a Force ghost, and he burns down the tree. I think the whole point of that is to show Luke like you're more powerful as a Force ghost, and you know it's time to like, you know, take that next step and you know, become one with the Force.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because Luke's argument is a very cynical one. Like, you know, when he says, "What am I going to fight with a laser sword?" But it's actually the same argument that Yoda is making. It's like, but in a more positive light. It's like, now your time is done. You had your fight. You were the hero. You know, you've done what you needed to do here. Now it's time to move on. The only problem I have with that, and this is where I kind of agree with Mac too, is why not put that in the third movie? Why put it in the second movie? Why not get Luke fighting? We get to see, like, you know, him at his best, and then do exactly what he did, but just save it for the last film. I would have been more satisfied with that, I think.
I'm with you on that. And can I just say that, you know, the end of 7 and the beginning of 8, how Mark Hamill portrays it is completely different. Like, if you go back and watch it, you know, JJ definitely gave Mark different directions than Ryan did in 8, man. Like, it's for sure. Clearly, JJ had different views for what he wanted to do with Luke, because like if you watch them side by side, man, it's a completely different style, completely different mode, everything.
At the end of 7, he almost looked like he was choking up, and then
exactly,
like it was all a joke.
He throws that away. He throws that saber away like it's nothing.
Well, and Ellie, I hate to keep calling you out because, you know, you're a novelist, but in this point, when you see what JJ wrote in the story, that Luke left a trail, a map, purposely so people to find him when they needed him, and then they find him, and it's almost like Rian Johnson, the director in the second movie, was like, nah, forget about that whole thing.
He took a left turn, man.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking about the whole Luke controversy, I suppose. Mind you, between the previous episode and the latest episode, like, some time passed, and some things happened involving Kylo Ren, like that big flop with him not being properly trained and raised, and Kylo Ren. And I feel, as from writing perspective, I feel like Luke got a whole another dimension, complexity to the character, which kind of was not really, well, Luke kind of was a little bit brooding and maybe a little nihilistic. He wasn't like a little bit, you know, and he has this like interesting relationship with the Force. And he knows, I was feeling like everything that happened with Luke just, to me, added really richness and complexity to him, and I could relate because of where he's coming from, why in this particular episode he's reacting like this, because he was burned really badly on like losing Kylo Ren. He had to make a very hard choice to cut himself off the Force, so he like either that or there is a chance I may like stumble and go to the dark side or something like that. So I felt like it's like, think about it, if you're like a drug addict or an alcoholic, or something like that. There is something that is like really powerful and amazing and rich over there, and yet it can destroy you in a sense. So I feel like Luke retreating, maybe it was not the most hero-like thing that he's done, but it was a very understandable and relatable thing that he's done by retreating to these caves. And he was like, yeah, I suppose if you need me, but like when Rey showed up, I think he just, how you screw up real badly and then you feel like you can't really fix it, and like I think that's where space that he was in. So I feel like I could understand the whole sequence. And to add to that, yes, I like a lot of people commented that like, well, what is this, like the most powerful Jedi was this like lame whole projection tricks, some kind of magic bullshit. Like I thought it was like really an amazing feat of courage and use of Force. Remember that he shut him off of the Force, of using the Force, and yet he like, okay, this is an important situation, people depend on me. And maybe to the extent that even he needed to fool Rey also, like this just occurred to me, maybe to pull the whole trick off, he needed to fool everybody that he's not on board, because this whole is like the whole thing sits on like illusion and just people's belief that he's actually there. So like I don't know, I feel like there is a way to look at the writing from the fact that
but did it feel like, to you, did it feel like this was planned from the very beginning, this film, or was JJ going in one direction and
totally just watch the flashback sequence of the Knights of Ren in episode 7 and look at the 1 and 8. It's a completely different series, man. Like I was expecting like the big reveal of like the Knights of Ren and like how them and Luke broke up. I was expecting like a really awesome scene, when they showed in 7, JJ shot it like it's raining out, it's like really ominous. When we see it in 8, it's like nothing. We see different perspectives of like Luke on the dude from Girl's Bedside, and it's like, come on.
Mac.
Clearly, different directors had different direction. They different ways they wanted to go with the story, and obviously Ryan's been given like his own trilogy, and I think that's how it should have been done in the first place. Like he clearly has like a certain tone to his films. I just don't think it belongs in the archetype trilogy, and I think that's the biggest discrepancy. You have like, it seems like the fans don't really like the movie, but critics love the movie. It pretty much is like kind of the consensus, and it's pretty much comes down to just the way the director wanted to go with it, man. It doesn't fit with JJ's scheme, what JJ started, and with hopefully what he finishes.
Well, that's the difference between the original trilogies, because George Lucas was the executive producer, and it was his story. So even if with different directors on each film, you had the same person telling their own story through all the way through, even with different writers. So Mac, what do you think that what Luke did was the most powerful thing a Jedi has ever done? I mean, isn't that something?
I think that was, first off, I think it was amazing. I mean, we've never seen anybody do that, nor have we ever heard of anybody like throughout any of the novels or anything like that, doing any kind of like transmitting themselves, like like not only just like, basically doing like a shadow, like having it be like a few feet away from you or something like that. Like that would be cool, but like basically transmitting yourself like literally in another like galaxy, another solar, like they were far, like, or in another like solar system is what I meant to say, and like onto another planet. Like that's crazy. Like my guys basically got like interstellar, like He's now he can now not only like bend like the nature energy, like the force and everything, but he can bend like the cosmic energy, like if you know what I'm saying, like because there is like the natural force and there's the cosmic force, and the cosmic force isn't what you become until after you die and become like a force ghost, or if you're a Sith, a force phantom.
But it's like he did both. It's like he was able to do the cosmic Jedi feats and still manifest physically. Even though he wasn't there, his physical touch, he fought with a lightsaber. I mean, he had them convinced that he was there. So that's mind blowing. Ellie, go ahead.
Crazy.
And I just want to say that it didn't, like, now that we look back at the film, it didn't come out of nowhere, because if you remember what was happening between Rey and Kylo, that thing where they, like, so in this, at least in this film, like, that was foreshadowed a little bit. So it was like, in my part, that okay, that's cool writing, but good writing. That's like thinking it through, at least within this episode. Not, we still didn't expect that coming, but that's the good writing, where, like, when we think back about that, it's like, oh, there was a little possibility of that happening.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because they connected psychically, but in a way that they could actually see each other. And there was a physical transference. He got wet. He got wet from the rain when she was being rained on, right? When Kylo pulled it wasn't sweat, it was raindrops, I think, off of him, right? And
I think
in the original trilogy, the closest we got to that was like Luke being able to sort of psychically talk with his father and feel his sister, but not to that level. I think you're right, Ellie. He's trying to open the door here and show us that there's so much more that Jedis are capable of.
Yeah, I would like to see more new Jedi things. Like, I just wish they wouldn't cut and paste so much. Like, there's so many cool things you can do with a Jedi and their power, and like we only got to see like a little bit. You know, we obviously got to see what Luke can do. We got to see what Snoke did, how he bridged Rey and the dude from Girls together, and it's like they could have done so many more cool things with that. Why didn't they do that? Because
they had too many characters and too many storylines going on, I think. And he did a great job putting it in 2.5 hours.
It was long. It's a long movie, by the way. It's very long.
Yeah, you know what I don't get why they don't do? Like, honestly, I think that who is Star Wars like really trying to win over with their movies? Like, if you really think about it, for the most part, it's the old fans who grew up with it, the like younger crowd, because it's like sci-fi,
the new fans, the new fans,
and the new fans, and then like little kids. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, some old people like it, but like that's only if they're like kind of like new school old people. Like, if they're old fashioned, for the most part, they don't like Star Wars. So start gearing it to the younger audience. What they should start doing is, instead of making a Star Wars movie, and one thing that it doesn't matter what age you are, if you like Star Wars, like, pretty much you either don't know what Star Wars is or you love Star Wars. Like, pretty much no in between. Like, even if you're like, you just love it, like, oh yeah, Star Wars is my favorite movie, or if you're like me and you know everything about it.
You said it.
But like, you love Star Wars, so why not just make Star Wars, instead of doing 2.5 hour movies? Why not just make a 5 hour movie? Because Star Wars fans will sit through the whole thing. If you put an intermission, like an 30-45 minute intermission, like around 2.5 hours, people will go pee, get new popcorn, like everything will happen. We can get back to the theater and we can have a long, awesome movie. Like, I would definitely go see a 5 hour long Star Wars movie.
When Lord of the Rings came out, Return of the King, that was 3 hours. I was totally cool with that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, the studios don't feel the same way, and the studios are the ones who make all the decisions, buddy. The fans can you tell the studio what they want all day, but at the end of the day, the studio is going to make those changes that piss the fans off, and that translates to all franchises. Okay,
is there any hope? Is there any outside chance that we'll see some sort of incarnation of Luke that isn't just a Jedi ghost?
I mean, he could have teleported.
That's what I'm wondering.
Skywalker running
Yeah.
around the island without he's missing his cloak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Covering himself from the caretakers.
That would be awesome. You know what? I've been thinking about that, and I was like, I feel like they wanted to kill off one character, but they just like picked the wrong one. You know, like life intervened.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, and then they were like, oops. So we kind of saved the wrong character. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's salvageable. But I know JJ, he is a true fan. When you look at interviews with JJ versus Rian Johnson, I read this today. Rian Johnson submitted his script for the second movie before JJ finished the final cut of The Force Awakens.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Which means he had his own idea of what the story should be before, JJ finished, so that they can collaborate and work on something together. And I wonder if JJ might be brave enough, if he's listening, which I doubt, but if he is, would he be brave enough to figure out a way to make Luke not dead? I don't know.
JJ, if you bring back Luke, the fans will love you. No matter how ridiculous it is, they will love it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter. Everyone would rejoice if he would like teleport it or something. I mean, and honestly, that's the thing. There's the possibilities are endless. He's one with the Force. You could explain it in 1,000 different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
it's all about the fan service.
The best way to make the point, which everybody is sort of alluding to, I think. I talked to a friend yesterday because I rewatched it yesterday, and he asked me. He's a casual Star Wars fan, not a hardcore Star Wars fan.
Okay.
Casual. The only thing he said to me, he's like, "Yeah, I want to go see it. I just want to see Luke kick some ass." And I think that says a lot about what they missed.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Because
we were all waiting for that, buddy.
It's not just the hardcore fans, or the people who haven't seen the film, right? Like there are millions and millions of people who know Luke Skywalker. They don't buy the Blu-rays and watch all the movies. They don't read the comics. They catch it on TV when it comes on, but they love Luke Skywalker, and they really wanted to see him go out there and kick some butt. And it seemed like a small task, and they missed the boat on that. But anyway, I'm getting emotional. Anyway, we're gonna come up on a quick break, and we'll be right back. This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on the Inception Radio Network. Stay tuned. I'm with Ellie Maloney, Mac Barnes, and Andrew Powell, and we're discussing Star Wars: The Last Jedi. We'll be right back. And taking us out of the break was Riders in the Storm by The Doors. Okay, so we're gonna pick up this heated, emotionally moving conversation about The Last Jedi and Luke Skywalker in particular. So, okay, we left it off with, could we bring Luke back? Does anyone else have anything to add to that before we move on?
Andrew?
Yes.
Did you want to talk about...
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things I want to talk about. But, I mean, just to sum up Luke, like I said, I didn't really like it the first time I saw it. I was fine with it today when I saw it the second time. Hopefully JJ brings him back in some way, more powerful than a Force ghost.
Right.
But I really want to talk to Ellie about this Canobite business. Like, I totally get what you're saying about Finn and Rose being endearing. I definitely like their storyline, but I feel like they didn't give them anything to do. Like, the entire Canobite thing, it's like, okay, Maz Kanata says, first of all, why did we have to see her? There was no reason for her to even be in the movie. But she's like, okay, you got to go to this planet and see this dude with this brooch. And if you do this, he's going to solve all the problems. So they go there, and obviously it doesn't happen. They get arrested. They run into Benicio del Toro. He magically can like unlock things, right? And then and then they like go, and then they go, and then they free the animals that are like racing across that are racing on this casino planet. And don't get me wrong, like the casino planet was cool looking, like it definitely had its moment. I thought it was a really cool concept, but they didn't do anything with it because what happens? They don't get the codes. They end up getting screwed over. And then the line that really hurt me more than anything, like it was like after it's all like said and done, and like they all run away, and then was it all worth it? And she goes no, and then takes the saddle off the Yoda looking creature, and no, now it was worth it. It's like, come on, really? This is what a Star Wars movie has come to now. I'm just really, I guarantee Ellie could have come up with so many better things that they could have done at that planet. Like I can guarantee that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's what I feel about it, and I feel like I'm gonna agree with a lot of what you said. Of course, there was a much neater way to write it. Like, for example, the coder that they got, I kept hoping that he's gonna end up being like the real coder they were looking for, and that would make it more of a, like story that flows a little bit better. But then, okay, so just aside of all of that, I agree with you. These are like those animals, those racing horses, dogs, animals, kangaroos, whatever those were. Those are the only animals that I didn't like, because I even like those crystal foxes, whatever.
They were cool.
Yeah, but those, I mean, yeah. Okay, here's the idea. Here's the thought to consider. If they wrapped it up neatly as we all expected it to be wrapped up, would that be like any surprise? It would be like, we would expect them go unlock those codes, and it would kind of like, for half the movie, we would sit there knowing that this is what's going to happen.
So I see what you're saying. So like they needed to have some story to tell as the other story is happening. Otherwise, it would be
I totally get that. Like, I feel like they could have tied it better, though. I just feel like there's so many missed opportunities there. And like even once they get Benicio, right? Okay, they end up getting to the Star Destroyer with him, and he ends up getting them to the room, and then only then for them to get busted, and then he ends up selling them out. And then his whole and he gets preachy and is like, oh well, these terrible people, all these rich whitey, like they sell to the Empire and the Rebellion. They're all bad people. So like. What was the point of his character, really? Honestly, what was the point of Benicio's character?
I feel, like we learned the lesson. I mean, there's like gray people there. It's not all black and white. And this is, I feel like, a solid diversion from the Star Wars like ideology, I suppose, if you can say so.
Can you see them bringing back Benicio, guys, as helping out in the next movie? Like, oh, I was wrong. Like I'm here to like right my wrongs type of thing.
Like Lando Calrissian kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Like honestly, like Maz is pretty force sensitive. Do you think like she sent them there like it was all on purpose for them to like meet this dude?
No, so many people died. So many people died because of Benicio del Toro's character.
Exactly, dude.
Like it was. It's a very hard thing to forgive. That's not like Lando Calrissian where he thought that his friends would be safe enough, they wouldn't be killed. This guy, he let thousands and thousands of lives die just so that he can get paid some money. So I think that was really rough.
I just thought it would be killer that they could have done with Canto Bight. They could have like made that like basically like a branch of like the thing at Bespin, like basically like Lando could have like won or like just like saved up a lot of money and opened a different casino on a different planet, and they were going to see Lando because Lando could have cracked the code. That would have been awesome because then
I like that better already.
Billy D. Williams like back in the movie, and
God,
that would have made so many people happy.
It would have been like a science fiction orgasm. That would have been awesome. Yeah,
pretty much.
But yeah, I don't think we're gonna get Lando. Unless because I haven't heard anything about casting. Have you about Lando Calrissian in the third film?
No.
The only thing I heard about Lando is I remember when 7 came out, there was like promotional material that like how they released the action figures first and all this. Originally, Finn was supposed to be Lando's kid, and that's so ridiculous if you think about it. Of all of that, of all of the people in the Star Wars universe, the two African American characters are father and son. It's like, come on.
Bad. That would have been.
It would have been. It would have been awful, and it's a good thing they didn't go that route.
All right, so Ellie, if you had a chance to write the third movie, how would you end this thing?
Oh my!
Wow, I feel like you emailed me that question. Like I had this humorous conversation with one of my friends, and they said like, and in the end, I want Pork to become next Sith Lord.
I'm down with that.
That'd be badass.
I like, they're good.
Yeah.
So okay, in seriousness, I feel like they should bring Luke back. Yes. I want. Okay, my problem is that the whole relationship of Rey and Finn is like like, please don't get it wrong, but of a like kind of like he's like a puppy that follows her for some reason.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, like blind emotional attachment, and now it's kind of like Rose. There's like some kind of love triangle of unfortunate love, and I feel like I want Finn to shed it off because clearly Rey doesn't see it in their way, and she probably never will. This is not going to happen. I kind of wanted it to happen, but it's not happening, so let's just forget it. But I do want, like, maybe to Finn and Rose get some kind of spin-off, if that's a thing, or
they'll probably get a book.
Have them sort shit out, like
or
this
a comic.
Needs to figure. They need to figure it out.
Yeah. Mac, do you think that they could possibly do like a spin-off with Luke and the Knights of Ren while Mark Hamill is still alive, and just do a totally separate movie about that storyline?
Because they have so much that they're doing right now, and like I'm like, even though I'm not as attentive to my page anymore because like I'm adulting now.
Good for you, buddy.
But I still keep up with Star Wars. Like I want to keep my own tabs on everything, and they're trying to do so much right now. Like they're trying to break into live action TV right now. They're thinking about doing a couple different things. They're also thinking about exploring the Old Republic in a completely different trilogy. I don't know if any of you have heard about that. Like a trilogy after they finished 9, they were thinking about doing it an Old Republic trilogy, which I think would be pretty killer, especially if they like do kind of what they did like with like bringing in some things like in Rebels from like Legends and stuff, and like basically recanonizing like a few different things. Like if they made like I don't know if you got how much you guys know about the Old Republic, but like players like Darth Malgus and like Bastille Shan or something like that, like just like if they added some characters or like pick and chose like a few different things that they wanted to do from the books, I think it would be cool. Or if it was just completely like brand new, like something they made up. But I wouldn't want them to copy like exactly what's in the books, because if you've read the books, then you'd obviously know what happened.
Yeah,
so.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I understand that. So speaking of new powers, how do you feel about Princess Leia, General Organa? How do you feel about that? Exactly, the Superman moment.
The first time I was like, what the? But today I was like, all right. I just feel like it would have been a really good opportunity to like, let her character die, because it's going to be really hard to shoot 9 knowing that she's one of like the 5 people of the rebellion left. You know what I mean? Ugh.
Honestly, I think they were too scared to kill her in the movie. I think what they're going to do is they're going to do a book, and they're going to kill her in a book. Between
the movies, yeah. I think, but
she is a Skywalker though, man. The Force is strong with her, so it makes sense. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if JJ were to bring back Luke and be like, "Yep, he just teleported," like people would be like, "All right, cool," because we accepted that Leia business. Like, we'll accept that.
We accept that the Skywalker lineage, which Rian Johnson seems to want to sort of eliminate, like, to our knowledge, is the most powerful family bloodline lineage of the Force. And I know Rian Johnson wants us to think like, oh, you don't have to be a bloodline, but I don't think any Star Wars fan thinks that you have to be. Like, no one believes that. You don't need to convince us of that. We already know that.
Yeah. It's funny. Speaking of bloodline, I know like a lot of people that were like, "Oh, you don't like the new Star Wars movie? Oh, well, it's because you don't like it because you don't like who Rey's parents are." And I was like, actually, I was fine with that. That didn't bother me at all. I was fine that her parents were no one special.
I think
In fact, I preferred it. Yeah. I preferred it. It's like no. And I just wanted to say, buddy, that you were asking everyone their favorite scene earlier. My favorite scene is definitely the milking scene. I really enjoyed when Luke is going and milks those sea cows or whatever they were. Yeah. I was a big fan of that. I was a big fan.
And if you're in the theater hungry and you see that scene, though, it's really disturbing.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
I thought that was a bold choice, and I thought it was a good choice. I mean, look at Star Wars, like some of the most outlandish sort of caricature like alien characters exist within the Star Wars universe. I don't think that's anything crazy. I don't know why people got so upset about that, and I think it really nailed home how low Luke had gone. You know, I think if that's the direction they were going in, then they might as well go all the way.
I didn't look at it like that, but now you say it, man. Oh.
Well, like Ellie was sort of alluding to before, I think, or saying, you know, this idea of like someone has an issue with addiction. You know, like they'll stick with their addiction until they hit the depths of the depths of the depths of the depths, and do things that they, in their best self, would never do. You know, and I think that's kind of what they're showing Luke as. Like, he just hit bottom. You know, and I think he was lost. He felt lost.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also, you know, like there's all that overtone, like Jedi used to be a powerful order and kind of a bureaucracy of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Luke kind of never got on board of that being such a...
Well, he calls them out. He calls them out in it. He's like, you know, if you look at the Jedi as a whole, they were a failure. Like, they allowed Palpatine to completely like rise into power and completely obliterate them. Like he mentions it in 8, and it's like pretty astute, really. I totally get why they needed to end.
Yeah, and that's why I felt it was within his character to really try to not to take that responsibility. I'm not a master of the universe. I'm not the coach to everybody. I'm not even Yoda. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a dude who happened to have Force. And he was just like, I feel like that's like a big part of his motivation to be such a recluse and all that.
Yeah, so. I think people really don't also appreciate, like, I know people make fun of Kylo Ren for being, you know, crying or being whiny, but like, imagine if you were dealing with the kind of stuff that he had to deal with. You know?
Don't forget the waist-high pants, buddy. You cannot forget the waist-high pants.
Those are important. Those are very important. But with Luke Skywalker, it's like, you know, he's literally, you know, we don't know how often he spoke with Ben Kenobi or Yoda through Force Ghosts. He's on his own. Like, there is no other support system for the Jedi. He is literally the only Jedi in existence, trying to forge his way. So just because, like I said, like, he has powers, right? Oh, he's very powerful. Well, okay, cool. But Yoda was only around to teach him so much. And he didn't know what path or what course was best to take. He was walking blind in the woods, you know?
Very much so. Can we discuss Snoke and the whole Snoke throne room and how awful it was?
Ooh, like, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. But go ahead.
Yeah. Like, honestly, could they have got some better decor? Like the red walls made it look like they were shooting that on a soundstage. Like, honestly, usually one of the coolest scenes is when they fight the Praetorian Guards. That scene was pretty badass.
I love
but
that,
come on, they could have done something cooler with the, you know, the furniture. Come on. And honestly, do you guys think that Snoke is dead? Do you guys think that Snoke died? I want to know what all three of you think.
Mac, what do you think?
I honestly don't care one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely saw him die. Honestly, I think Star Wars tried to pull one over on all of us and like make us think that he was a very important character when in fact he wasn't an important character at all. That's how it turned. The only reason that character is there is as like a catalyst to progress the character of Ben Solo or Kylo Ren. Like, that's not a main character. It's just a supporting character for that specific main character.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about Ben's motivation. Like, honestly, like, he gets to the place where, okay, he removes Snoke from the picture. Him and Rey are like together, and he still decides, oh, come join me, like the same cut and paste job. Come and let's rule the galaxy. Like, yeah, come on.
It was almost verbatim from Return of the Jedi.
Exactly. Like, go a different route, man. Go a different route. Mm-hmm. Take a different motivation. That's all I'm saying. Things like that really bothered me.
I thought you were gonna. I didn't think you were gonna pick that one because that one is like with his son, like Darth Vader and his son. I thought you were gonna do the one on Mustafar whenever Padme first like comes down like off her Nerubian, and like Anakin's like, you know, basically doing it in a loving way, like he's trying to like convince like not like prove that he's right. He's trying to like convince her, like sway her mind. He's like, you know, come with me, like we can start a new life together, like we can make things the way we want them to be, because he knew that was probably his best shot of swaying Padme, since she was a senator, and she knew, like he was saying that we can get the world, like we can run it the way we want it to be ran, like we can be the good guys. I thought you were going to say it was like that, because he was kind of saying, like, I think Kylo Ren was kind of saying it more that way, like trying to say, like, hey, come on, like, we'll, like, you know, we can be a thing. Like, we can rule together. Like, we can basically, like, start a life together. I thought that's the way it was.
Does he have romantic feelings towards Rey? What do you guys think? Does the dude from Girls Like Rey?
I think he definitely does, just because, like, I've been thinking about it myself, like, just... you know, their chemistry, but like also my dad thinks that they slid the shirtless scene in there because he was trying to appeal to Rey. That's my father's prediction. But I think it was and like that there was a joke right there, like, you know, can you please put something on, like, you know, he thinks it was trying to like show like her resisting and like him like insisting.
Yeah, but if Snoke was making that connection, how would he know when that moment would come?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to tell my dad. But he says that they put that scene in the movie for a reason. So
yeah.
Can we get a female perspective? What do you think? Is there a romance between the two of them? Ellie?
I think there's tension. So that's a good word, and that's very useful for movies because it keeps you hooked and keeps you guessing. I think chemistry is there for sure. I have a question to you guys. Do you believe that Kylo Ren told the truth about Ren's parents?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like you never know. It might, like, remember how like.
I get the feeling that he does though, because she kind of is like, I know. He's like, you know who your parents were, and she's like, yeah, I do. She kind of like hasn't. He's, you know, they were junkers. They're worthless.
Yeah, I think there's some disagreement there. There's a disagreement between, did he see through her, but she didn't see, or did he just see what she saw? So if he saw what she saw, then I guess we can all agree her parents are nobody, or quote nobody, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like he saw more. Like he saw like further. Like she couldn't see, but he could see.
I just thought of something really smart.
Here's a trick. Here's like what I feel like the parallel, like you say, copy paste thing that is happening. Remember, like how the Star Wars were called like mildly incestual because like Leia turns out to be sister of Luke's.
Right.
Like,
right.
I feel like I don't know. Like, are they laying a trap? Is this something that is gonna be like, something like this? Like I don't know. I don't want to like build too much expectation because that, like, on one end I feel like, well, that should be like a lazy trick. Then we just like repeat everything again, except one of the siblings, you know. But I feel like maybe they're like misleading us that way, and like one way or another, it works because if they're not gonna be brother and sister and just gonna have crush on each other, or tension that is gonna like never, you know, maybe Kylo Ren is gonna be forever tormented with Rey, and Rey is like forever gonna deny him, and like all the Kylo's dark,
like an obsession.
That's gonna be the sole source. He would like turn his love and affection into this really destructive. Okay, if you don't want to be with me, I'm gonna destroy you, kind of thing.
Mac, did you just have an epiphany?
Yeah, I was kind of sitting there thinking, and I was like, you know, in episode 7, like how like he like reaches out and like reaches like basically, you know, into her mind, like he's metaphorically reaching. You know how like in episode 7, like she's like resisting, like when she's like in the chair. Right. Okay, remember the beginning of episode 8, like the first time, like whenever like she was like standing up outside and like they got paired up or whatever, and they both kind of noticed like, you know, you can see me, and he kind of tried to read her again, and remember like she resisted, and then he just like gave up. Well, what if like whenever they were together like in person, or like whenever he was talking about like the the junker, or like saying that her parents were nobodies. What if she like basically thought in her mind what she wanted him to read?
Ooh, okay.
I think we need a big reveal. We need some sort of big reveal, man. Like, you got to think about it. We're all much younger than the people that originally saw Star Wars. So when those movies came out, I'm talking obviously 4, 5, and 6. There was no other story. Like, no one knew in Empire Strikes Back that Luke and Leia were brother and sister. Like, no one knew that yet. Mm-hmm. It was a big deal when it was revealed that Vader was the father of Luke. In fact, I don't know if you guys have ever watched like Empire Strikes Back with a child that have seen that for the first time, but it's honestly quite magical, and I recommend that for everyone. It's like one of those things, man, where we haven't got like a real big reveal yet in 7, 8, and 9, and I feel like we need that. I feel like that's what this trilogy is missing.
Yeah, I agree with what Max said earlier about Snoke, that he was a plot device, and that's cool. But all I needed was one sentence, just to tell me, what is he? Because he's not a Sith Lord.
I don't know anything about him.
Just give me like a couple of lines and just tell me like where did he come from and what is he?
Think about it like this. Okay, so like obviously, especially like whenever like the period of time that the Jedi Order was like disbanded, like after Order 66 and everything, like there were plenty of like, I don't know how many of you watch Rebels, there were plenty of people, I guarantee you, like Ezra, like who were a force sensitive human being that was never trained. And then obviously like if you just like end up just if there's so many force sensitive people, obviously not as many as the real, like, the
kid that's sweeping at the end of the movie. The kid that's sweeping is definitely force sensitive.
Oh yeah, for sure. He like grabbed the broom. But what I was saying was like there's got to be someone out there who literally just became like just started like finding out their powers like on accident, and then were never obviously a Jedi nor a Sith because they didn't know of either one. They just knew that they had this really weird power that they could move things, and some could do worse things. And then obviously they wouldn't have like that tea kettle cap. Like they wouldn't like think, oh, I shouldn't get angry and destroy everything because that's not what Jedi do. Like they're just a normal person, so they're gonna go about their emotions as a normal person. So who's to say that he just decided to be? He was like, hey, I have these powers, let's be bad. So then just started doing like lots of bad thing and just like basically devised a plan to take over.
Yeah, I mean maybe that explains why he's geeking out so much on Darth Vader too. Because he was he spoke of Darth Vader with such admiration and like revelry that I thought that's really strange for someone so powerful to be thinking of putting Darth Vader on a pedestal. And maybe that's right. Maybe if he's not from the Sith lineage and he's just someone who like taught himself somehow, then he looks to somebody who has knowledge that's been taught down and he trained properly and he became this really powerful person. I don't know, but I'd still like to know, like the Emperor in the first movies, we didn't know much about him at all, but we knew at least he was a Sith, and he's passing down his knowledge down to Darth Vader. That's all we needed to know, and I just wanted something like that with Snoke. But
could he be Palpatine by any chance? This is like fully.
Well, yeah, I mean,
there is talk of that. Of that. I don't know. I feel like his head shape. I mean, I feel like it's a different type of. He's clearly been through some sort of issue. He either got his head cut in half by a lightsaber, or it almost looks like his head was like ripped in half, like by the Force, deciding like what kind of side of the Force he wanted to go with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so overall thoughts for me, I thought it was a great film. It had some serious issues that were not that serious, but some issues. And I think that once again we have to put our hope in JJ to see where he takes this trilogy. But I haven't lost the faith, and I do think in so many ways that Luke's story was actually quite beautiful the way it ended. That's it, guys. We are out of time. So really quick, if you want to find out more about Ellie Maloney, author of 329 Years Awake, you can go to Instagram at Ellie Maloney Fiction, or on Twitter, Ellie Maloney FIC, Ellie Maloney Fic. Mac, Do you have just the one account on Twitter now that you're using? I mean, I'm sorry, on Instagram.
Yeah, it's still just my one account on Instagram. It's the Force _awakens.
Okay.
Because I made it before the first of the new trilogy.
Well done.
Okay, nice. And then Andrew, where can people find you?
The Great White Chocolate at Instagram. You got to say the whole thing. The Great White Chocolate.
You are the Great White Chocolate,
yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah, man. That's probably good for now.
All right, cool. And once again, I want to thank Ellie for coming on for the first hour to discuss her books and the X-Files and other really cool alien, extraterrestrial, geeky things.
I can't wait to listen to that.
To find out more about her book, go to Amazon, 329 Years Awake. Mac, Ellie, Andrew, thank you all for this fun roundtable discussion, which was too fast. Last time we did 2 hours. This is an hour. Next time we'll have to do 2 hours again. And that's it. All right. So peace and love to everybody out there. And as always, live in the mystery. Be well.
Okay.
Thank you.
May the force be with you all.
Nice.